Be the part and experience the best in online broadcasting. Keep focus.
A pleasant good morning and welcome to Focus Online TV, where we bring you another edition of Inside the Print Media. Remember, Focus TV is located within the community along the Japanese Highway, and today is Tuesday, August 15, 2023. So, as you begin this day, it's my prayer that God will carry you safely and return you home to your family as well. So before we begin our news reading, let us look at our news sources for today. We have here in studio the Daily Observer newspaper, the Front Page Africa newspaper, the Independent Proof newspaper, the New Dawn newspaper, and our international source that is the BBC for today. So, Kaylin, don't talk about how do you feel this morning?
I'm feeling great, and it was amazing to be here. All the job that we choose to do, more especially on today.
Kaylin Dontokwa is my co-presenter here on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media. And of course, I am your regular presenter on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media, and my name is Regina Silva. So, as we look at our headlines on the Daily newspaper, we will then take a short break. When we get back, we commence with the news in details. Let's look at the headlines for today. The Daily newspaper headline is Three charged for neglect, three charged for negligent homicide in Maryland. Three charged for negligent homicide in Maryland. Liberia is not cursed by God, but by voters. So these are the headlines under the Daily Observer newspaper, and then we go straightly to the New Dawn newspaper. Admits FITI's outgoing staff officers for advancing mission objectives. Admits FITI's outgoing staff officers for advancing mission objectives. And then our last headline under the New Dawn newspaper reads, Politics is not competition of ideas, not even about enmity. Politics is competition of ideas, not about enmity. So then we will commence our news reading from the Daily Observer newspaper. So before we begin, let's take a short break. When we get back, we fill you in with the news details as it relates to the Daily Observer newspaper. So please stay with me. Thanks for watching. And we love you. This is Focal Online TV, where we bring innovation to your house.
Focal TV. Bringing you innovation to broadcasting, news, views, comments, and analysis of issues happening in Liberia and the rest of the world. Focal TV, with check and balance, we break it as it unfolds. Focal TV, bringing you face to face with newsmakers in town. Focal TV, the best online platform in broadcasting. Focal TV, located at Topo Village, Somalia Drive, Liberia. Be the part and experience the best in online broadcasting. Keep focus.
Okay, welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the daily edition of Inside the Print Media. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching us from, due to your geographical location. This is Focal Online TV, where we bring you innovations broadcasting. This morning, I am your presenter on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media, and my name is Fina Koreshpa, and I'm being co-assisted by my co-presenter. His name is
Lyndon Toba.
here, Lyndon Topa is my co-presenter here on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media. Remember, here on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media, we bring you top stories of our country and the details. So we encourage you to get yourself a newspaper, be familiar with all of the happenings in our country Liberia, and be informed about all of the happenings within our country Liberia, especially as we gear towards one of the crucial moments within our history, that is our electoral process. Please get yourself a newspaper, be acquainted with information as it relates to our country Liberia and the world at large. So, folks, we begin with the details of a newspaper. The headline reads Three charged for negligent homicide in Maryland County. Three charged for negligent homicide in Maryland County. News and details. The suspects, who hail from Guam, Kaluwe, and Electoral District Number 3, were identified as Asedo 40, Friday 2, 36, and Martha 2. They were charged on Wednesday, August 9, following an investigation by the Liberia National Police, LNP Crown Service Department, CSD Chief Investigator for Plibo City, Jimmy Cado of the Liberia National Police, for the death of Elizabeth Toll, who happens to be the suspect's mother. The 53-year-old Elizabeth, according to the police reports, met her untimely death after following a fist fight that broke up between her three children early Wednesday morning in Brown, Maryland County Electoral District Number 3. The police reports continue that on Wednesday, the three suspects got into a heated argument, resulting in a serious fist fight, and their mother, Elizabeth Toll, in an attempt to pardon, tragically collapsed on the scene and popped off due to her overwhelming stress during the fist fight. Though the medical reports have not confirmed the actual cause of her death, it has been alleged that she may have died as a result of high blood pressure. Chief Police Investigator Gaydor told reporters that the family of the deceased immediately invited officers of the LNP and some medical practitioners when the incident happened so that they could intervene in the situation. He continues that a 50-man coroner jury, including representatives from the local authority of the town, health workers, and the families of the deceased, were established, and they revealed no evidence of foul play, injuries, or sign of external harm. Meanwhile, the bodies of the deceased were turned over to their families, while the three suspects were brought to the People Police Station awaiting court trial. The news of the late Elizabeth Toll's death has brought fear to the families and dwellers of the town, with others stressing some level of regret and sorrow, pointing out that it is the first of its kind for such news to have occurred in the town. This is how we move over to another headline under the Daily Observer newspaper. Liberia is not cursed by God, but by voters. Liberia is not cursed by God, but by voters. The news in details. It is a mind blowing how Liberians think that it is God who will develop this country, not their votes. The essence of an election is not just about having a functioning democracy, but also allowing citizens to voice their hopes, aspirations, and concerns. But in the case of Liberia, it is the opposite, as voting has now become more about short term transactions than long term investments and the well being of the nation. The resulting consequences are there and far reaching as leaders who are elected are ill equipped to tackle critical issues such as educational reform, healthcare access, infrastructure development, and economic growth. This can be a clear in the ranking of Liberia in every development index in the past 8 years, which ranks the country among the lowest in the world. Just last year, the Liberia Human Capital Index, according to the World Bank, was ranked at just 0.32, performing better than only three African countries in the world, namely the Central African Republic, that is 0.29, Chad 0.31, and South Sudan 0.31 out of 174 countries assessed. Also, in the sub-region, Liberia has the lowest human capital in ECOWAS, together with Mali and Niger. Mauritius, which Liberia is older than by 122 years, has a far better human capital score than Liberia with a score of 0.62. Despite these worrisome statistics, Liberian voters care less about policy discussions, which are needed to find solutions to the ever depreciating human capital development of the country, but more about pockets and belly. This is why Liberian elections are considered as shopping season, where masses of youth and young adults trade their voter identification card serial number to the highest bidders. This short-sighted attitude towards the democratic process feeds into voter tracking activities, which in itself undermines the purity of electoral outcomes. This is currently the case as we draw closer to October 10 elections. Yet, at the end of the day, those who sold their votes and their hopes for a better Liberia will crowd fall when the country remains among the lowest performers among other nations, while its elected leaders use the power and influence of their position to amass wealth and opportunities for themselves. Why cry when you prioritize gift over policy discussion, neglecting your duty as responsible citizens and compromising the integrity of the electoral process? Why is baffling is that these very voters expect a leadership that is accountable and transparent with a genuine commitment to addressing the challenges facing Liberia. It does not work that way, especially when the election was more about instant gratification, t-shirts, bags of rice, trucking fees than policy issues to which elected officials could be held accountable. There is no way voter tracking or electoral fraud can usher in leaders who will prioritize investments in human capital, which is a key to ending extreme poverty and creating a more inclusive society. And so the reality that Liberian voters should get used to as a result of their voting habits is having a country which is old enough to be well developed, but yet has a human capital development amongst the worst in the world, leading to a heavily unskillful population. On the other hand, who could blame them? Do those who were offered to absorb and disadvantaged youth, as well as tens of thousands of others who live in the margins of society, really have a stake in Liberia's democracy and development? This is the vicious cycle perpetrated by desperate politicians who fear the belly-driven mindset, keeping the masses poor, uneducated, and uninformed so that they are easier to control and less prone to hold elected officials accountable. However, the voters focus on short-term gains despite numerous campaigns against such is killing our nation. The reality is when leaders are elected based on the size of their campaign covers rather than their vision and integrity, it paves the way for an environment which public resources are mismanaged, misallocated, and misappropriated. Liberia elected officials are among the highest paid in the world, while the average Liberian lives on just US 570 a year, down from 650 in 2013, according to the World Bank. The take-home pay of Liberian legislators, in particular, is between US $1,000, which includes salaries, allowances, and the cost of running their offices. This is not counting the fringe benefits such as duty-free privileges. In the 2021 to 2022 budget year, the legislature allotted US 64 million for salary and other expenses, including US 4.6 million for new vehicles and US 3 million for fuel. By comparison, Liberia's entire public education sector for primary, secondary, and tertiary level was US 92 million in that same year. This situation clearly manifests that the consequence of Liberian voters' actions of repeatedly choosing not just the wrong politicians, but the wrong priorities that eventually come back to haunt the electorate. There is a Liberian saying that a cat cannot be born or a cat cannot be born to a dog. Thus, until Liberian voters understand that the path to development and prosperity is paved with an educated and informed electorate and a principled leadership that observe accountability, the country will remain poor forever. Critical issues that should be at the forefront of the national conversation, such as educational reform, healthcare access, economic growth, and infrastructure development, will be non prioritized by those elected. But will Liberian voters see it this way come the October 10 polls? Maybe, but let's wait and see. This is how we turn over to Kelly Dontova. Kelly Dontova, that was one of the headlines from the Daily Observer newspaper, and this person did an amazing work in a write up. I think it's not being one sided; it's being straight to the point. But then let's take our news headlines and details. When we get back, we'll discuss this. But the headline says Liberia is not cursed by God, but by voters.
All
So,
right.
Kelly, Dr. You can proceed from the front page.
All right. Thank you, Grafina, for such a brilliant output. Uh, from Page Africa, 10-year-old girl discovered dead, naked in Mani pit, reportedly sodomized, neck broken, and body parts missing. An angry crowd stormed the residence of a businessman, Mark Degan, in Batia Jem Gomani Kian, Kavala Administrative District, Electoral District 3, Grangida County, when blood-stained clothes belonging to the deceased 10-year-old girl, Gracious Yomi, were discovered and her lifeless body was found in an old money pit. According to Alex Nyoli, the he for she county coordinator, the deceased mysteriously disappeared on August 9, 2023, and her body was later discovered in a money pit on August 11, 2023, near the camp. The suspect, Mark Deegan, was apprehended by the Liberian National Police and incarcerated at the police station in Zerjud on August 11, 2023. He is currently under investigation for his alleged involvement in the murder. Mark Deegan has been charged with murder as documented in detention book. Coordinator Youngly further reported that after a 15-member coroner jury was swiftly examined from the community by the Liberian National Police Criminal Service Division (CSD), the jury's investigation revealed signs of foul play, including sodomy and a broken neck and the extractions of private parts. However, the jury stated that the suspect vehemently denied all allegations related to the death of the victim. The jury recommended that the deceased body be preserved as evidence for further court proceedings. They also emphasized that the responsibilities of body preservation should fall upon the government, not the bereaved family. Ironically, the police handed over the lifeless body to their grieving family for burial on August 11, 2023. Yet, the deceased father, Mr. Fred Moses, and his wife, Baby Yomi, declined to bury their daughter. Instead, they transported the body to the Zredu police station to demand justice for their child's tragic demise. In an interview Fred Moore, the father of the deceased, recounted that on the morning of his child's disappearance, he had sent home the mother to purchase charcoal at about 10 a.m. The girl requested permission to relieve herself behind their house before buying the charcoal. Tragically, she she vanished during this interval, and her body was later discovered submerged in an old pit. Moses continued to share that they reported the disappearance to the camp masters, who organized a search party of which the accused was a leader. Despite extensive research searches throughout the camp and surrounding areas, neither the missing child nor the evidence was found. When he uncovered my daughter's un- unclothed body in the old pit after 3 days of searching, we concluded that her murderer had hidden her clothes. Those, those we decided to follow the footprint. The track led us directly to the accused residence. Upon our arrival, he locked his door and refused us entry, claiming that he had already searched his house. In response, he engaged he engaged crowd force opened the door and the accused managed to flee. Subsequent investigations inside the house revealed that the child's clothing alongside the accused attire both smeared with blood. The bloodstained garment, including beddings and mosquito net were saturated with blood, stated Fred Moses, their grieving father. According to Moses, the primary goal is to obtain justice and arrange for an autopsy to ascertain the exact cause of his daughter's untimely demise. However, Zreju solicitor Anthony Jerome Tappet informed them that the government lacked the necessary funds for embalming. With the assistance of the Independent National Human Rights Commission and the Ministry of Gender, the bereaved family successfully deposited the body at A.B. Davis Funeral Home. Why police CSD Commander Victor Zian not be reached to comment? Zretu Solicitor General Jerome Tapper confirmed, informing the family that the government budget did not include provisions for preserving the body for an autopsy. The government expresses condolences to the child's tragic death and a thorough investigation will be conducted. Nonetheless, retaining the body is not advisable as we have already gathered substantial evidence of photographic documentations keeping the body could be unnecessary. However, in cases where the cause of death is known, the government will facilitate body preservation for an autopsy to determine the cause. We are committed to comprehensive investigations that encompasses all individuals associated with the incident. I show topic. Tambad F. Johnson, he was key considered Liberian National Coordinator vehemently condemned the alleged murder for, of young Gracious Yomi. He urged that her case will not be treated as just other statistics, but rather a demand for justice in the face of such a horrifying act. He urgently called on the government to diligently pursue justice through the legal system. The memory of Little Gracious demands the full attention of the justice system. She was the Liberian entitled to her right to live, which was tragically cut off in utterly unacceptable manner. Johnson referenced Article 3, Section 3 of the Conventions of the Right of Child, which stipulates that state parties are obligated to ensure that the institutions, services, and facilities responsible for the care and protection of children are held to the established standard, particularly in matters related to safety and health. While her physical existence may have ended, her right to justice facilitated by the Ministry of Justice remains unwavering. Justice must prevail now, and justice must be granted for gracious concluded Johnson. Unity Party standard bearer Joseph Walker, enough is enough. No monopoly over violence. Joseph Boakai, the standard bearer of Unity Party, has declared that the party will not tolerate intimidations or fear tactics from the ruling coalition for democratic change during the election period. Boakai emphasized that the Unity Party, known for its commitment to peace, will not allow the CDC talks to undermine their campaign. He asserted no individual possesses a monopoly over violence. In his first appearance at the party's Fiaman campaign headquarters since returning from the US, Boakai issued a stern warning to the citizens against resorting to violence. He urged Liberians to maintain the peace while cautioning that the Unity Party peaceful demeanor should not be misconstrued as weakness. Boakai asserted, Unity Party will not sit idly and allow the CDC to trample on us. Nobody holds a monopoly over violence. During President Weah's campaign kickoff, there was a casket display falsely claiming it was meant for me. Speaking on Monday during the announcements of additional campaign team members, Boakai expressed gratitude to Liberians for their unwavering support. He acknowledged their orderly approach to launching the Rescue Missions campaign, which aims to rescue the country from what he described as greed, juvenile leadership divisiveness, neglect, and disdain. He strongly condemned the recent violent attack on Unity Party partisans and drew attention to the party's commitment to adhering to the principles of Farmington Declaration. Boakai accused the CDC of having a history of employing violence, intimidation, and political trickery on their signature tactics. Boakai alleged that the George Weah-led government had even orchestrated a campaign involving a mock casket insinuating his demise. He accused them of resorting to violence out of desperation due to the lack of substantial campaign materials. George Weah and his associates are desperate, lacking meaningful campaign content. They have perpetrated poverty, death, and misery, showcasing their incompetence. Their campaign will be characterized by fear, intimidations, and succourage. Nevertheless, we call on our supporters to stand firm, campaign without fear, and resist any attempts at intimidation, Boakai emphasized. Boakai extended sympathy to injured partisans on the August 2023 attack and thanked Moses Louis Botto for her medical and humanitarian support. He expressed his readiness for victory on October 10, 2023, following launch of the Rescue Missions campaign on August 5, 2023. The campaign overarching goal, according to Boakai, is to reclaim Liberia soul and revise the hardship inflicted by the citizen government over the past 6 years. He noted that the elections presents an opportunity for Liberians to make a significant decision for their future. Boakai underscored the commitment of the Unity Party and its allies in the UP alliance to unseat President Weah's restore nation's dignity and create a brighter future for all Liberians. In response to President Weah's claim that Boakai promised to hand over leadership to young people, Boakai clarified that Liberia had already been turned over to young kleptocrats focused on personal gains. Boakai stressed that the Unity Party is committed to a violent-free campaign, but urged the National Elections Commission and international partners to educate the citizens on peaceful elections. He emphasized that Unity Party respects the rule of law and urged President Weah to refrain from making appearances in places of worship, which should be treated with respect. Boakai concluded in highlighting the visions of building inclusive, equal opportunity in Liberia, where trust and cooperation between government and its citizens are restored. He affirmed that through open dialogue and engagement, concerns of the people will be addressed. This brings us to a shift of news bulletin back to Grafina Sipa for continuations of Newsnet.
Thank you, Kaylin. So far, we proceed with the New Dawn newspaper. Admits FITI's outgoing staff officers for advancing mission objectives. Admits FITI's outgoing staff officers for advancing mission objectives. The news in details. Mogadishu, Somalia, 14 August 2023. All African Media Agency AMA, or 18 senior staff officers African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, were on Thursday decorated with African Union medals for their distinguished service to the peacekeeping mission. The officers who were completed or the officers who have completed their 1 year tour of duty were awarded AU medals of honor, pins of gallantry, and certificates of appreciation for their service in various capacities, including operations, logistics, medical, and information, among others. I take this opportunity to congratulate you for your efforts in restoring peace and stability in Somalia and the Horn of Africa region as a whole. Your contribution to this mission is highly appreciated, said Major General Marius Yinjabagan, the ADMI's Deputy Force Commander in charge of operations and plans. Major General Chindabaga, who represented the AU Special Representative for Somalia, Ambassador Mohammed El Amani Safi, and ADMIS Force Commander Lieutenant General Sam Okadin, thanked the officers for their exceptional contribution to peace and stability in Somalia. The event held at the ADMIS Force headquarters in Mogadishu was also attended by ADMIS Deputy Force Commander, Logistics and Support Major General Peter Kamani Matidi. It is not the duration you were here that matters, but the contributions you render to the mission and, of course, towards achieving the mandate of ADMIS. I want to congratulate you for the respective roles you play, Major General Matit told the staff officers. 12 of the officers fitted hail from Kenya. The other 6 officers came from Benin, Nigeria, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. We have done our best and we have given a lot. We are pleased to honorably pass on the baton to our successors to make the African Union dream a reality and accomplish the ADMIS mandate, said ADMIS Force spokesperson Lieutenant Councillor Abadullah Kandil, who spoke on behalf of the outgoing staff officers. Among other notable achievements, the outgoing officers were instrumental in the operational success of the mission in the fight against Al Sahab and the successful drawn down of 2,000 admitted troops and handover of 6 forward operating bases to the Somalia National Army in June. Other senior ADMIS officers who attended the event include ADMIS Military Chief of Staff Brajin Tajin Kandu Gesu, ADMIS Police Deputy Commissioner CP Martin Omoru, and Civilian Chief of Staff Kojo Burr Akusi. This is how we move over to another headline under the New Down newspaper. The headline reads, Politics is competition of ideas, not about enmity. Politics is competition of ideas, not about enmity. Presidential candidate Councillor Tiawon Sei Gonglo of the Liberian Political Party of the Liberian People Party (LPP) says politics is not about enmity or enemyship, but rather a competition of ideas or debate of issues, noting that Liberia is not a trophy for any would-be winner of the October polls to win. He calls on President George Weah and UPRI presidential candidate Joseph Boakai to conduct themselves in a responsible manner during this electoral period so as not to plunge the country into another round of violence because Liberians have suffered too much from the Civil War. Councillor Gonglo on Friday, August 11, urged the religious community, including Christians and Muslims, traditional leaders, civil society organizations, and other peace-loving citizens to speak out now before it gets too late for the country and those residing within its borders. His comments follow on Thursday, August 10, 2023, Violence between supporters of the CDC and the UP around Famuma House in Single, Electoral District Number 9, Montserrat County, that left several persons wounded. Both the CDC and UP blame each other for the violence that occurred just on day 5 of ongoing campaign of the October polls. Gonglo urges both leaders to exercise leadership over their followers and supporters and not to drag the country back to another round of violence or conflict that could lead to bloodshed. He notes that the current wave of happenings dated plus war between President Weah and Bouaka, and by extension their supporters, have the potential of putting fear in the locals and investors desiring to do business in the country. He said whether the violence is in either of them favor or not, they should not support it in any form and manner because by doing so, it could undermine peace and stability, stating that violence has taught Liberians lessons. Every leader or partisan of a political party should take into consideration that more than 3,000 people died in the country during the course of the 14-year civil war. Therefore, they should not remind us of their followers or supporters engaging in violence, Gonglo reflects. He recalls his visitation to various political parties' headquarters recently, thereby demonstrating that despite disagreement amongst politicians, politics is not about enmity or enemyship, but a competition of ideas, as Liberia is not a trophy for any would-be winner of the October polls. Gonglo adds that Liberians must jealously guard the peace that the international community helped to restore to the country and condemns last week's violence, stating that those involved were reckless, irresponsible, and insensitive to the country's ugly past. Therefore, both the present and the past governing political parties owe it to Liberia and its people to make sure that peace prevails during these electoral periods, because no amount of police we have in the street can do if the politicians do not speak out on what is happening. He wants. Before the start of campaign year, local and international community or stakeholders, including the religious and civil society organizations, traditional rulers, women and youth groups, as well as economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, African Union, AU, United Nations, UN, amongst others, have been calling for issue-based instead of hate language speech conversing for votes. This is how we close down on the New Dawn newspaper. It's now over to UK Lyndon Topa for our news details as it relates to Independent Probe. Okay, so we will take a short break. When we get back, we will commence with our international source for today. But the local news within our country, Liberia, is being shut down. We have just completed all of the segments of our news for today. Hoping that when we get back after this break, we'll bring you important information from our source internationally, that is the BBC. And we will be bringing you one of the trending top stories here for today on BBC. Please stay with us. Thanks to all of our viewers who are watching us live within Liberia and that of the diaspora. We appreciate your efforts, and this is Focal Online TV, where we bring innovation to broadcasting. Do not stop pushing in your efforts to be with us every Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. We love you, and we are here to serve the Liberian people by bringing innovation to broadcasting. Thanks for watching. Remember, this is the daily edition of Inside the Print Media. We take a short break. When we get back, we proceed quickly with our international news for today. Our source for the day is the BBC News. Thanks for watching. I love you, and I'll be right back shortly.
Focal TV. Bringing you innovation to broadcasting, news, views, comments, and analysis of issues happening in Liberia and the rest of the world. Focal TV, with check and balance, we bring it as it unfolds. Focal TV, bringing you face-to-face with newsmakers in town. Focal TV, the best online platform in broadcasting. Focal TV, located at Topo Village, Somalia Drive, Liberia. Be the part and experience the best in online broadcasting. Keep focus.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the daily edition of Inside the Print Media, and I'm here as your presenter, Finance Bar, and I'm being co-assisted by my co-presenter. His name is Kelly Nontoba, and we will just run quickly with our last source of information for today. That is our international news. Remember, our news is from the BBC State Times. So we proceed with the headlines. At least 35 die in inferno at petrol station in Dagestan, Softin, Russia. At least 35 died in inferno at petrol station in Dagestan, Softin, Russia. At least 35 people have been killed and dozens injured in an explosion at a petrol station in Softin, Russia. The blast erupted in the Dagestan regional capital, Makashkala, on the coast of the Carpathian Sea at 21:40 local time and 18:40 GMT on Monday. Picture shows a large fire lighting up the night sky and a number of fire engines at the scene. According to local media, the fire began at a car repair center near the petrol station. Russian President Vladimir Putin offered his sincere condolences following the deadly blast. A state of emergency was introduced in the Kotokalansky district in Dagestan, according to regional head Saji Malikov. Some 260 emergency workers have been deployed, while the most seriously injured have been evacuated to Moscow by air. According to the Emergencies Ministry, rescue operations are ongoing, the ministry said. As emergency service clear through the rubble, more bodies are being discovered. Russia Interflex news agency quoted doctors as saying 3 children were among the dead. It added that the fire has spread over an area of 600 square meters, that is 6,460 square feet, and that there was a danger of further explosion. An unnamed witness quoted by Russian newspaper Izvestia said the fire had started at a car park opposite the petrol station. After the explosion, everything fell on our heads. We couldn't see anything anymore, the witness said. Russia investigative committee said the fire had broken out during some car maintenance work and had been followed by a bank. This is how we close down on our news, both local and internationally. And we say, happy Tuesday to you. Remember, Tuesday is a working day. We encourage you that you put in your best to you your best result. So, in line with our daily news for today, my attention is being drawn to one of the headlines under the Daily Observer newspaper that we will talk about very shortly, and then we'll close. Liberia is not cursed by God, but by voters. Here, Lyndon Tobar, do you have a say on this?
Yeah, well, yes. The person, it is a future article. The person tried to sensationalize on the way Liberians have been consistently casting their vote over a period of time because a lot of people believe that we as Liberians perhaps we are cursed by God. But for me, in my own opinion, I don't believe that we are cursed by God because God will not curse us. It's the way we cast our ballot. Just imagine we are into the electoral season. Just you will notice that a lot of people will not follow politicians on the basis of what the person can do, but they will only be running beyond the persons on the basis of what
They can
they can
gain.
be able to give them.
What they can
You
gain.
understand? Yeah, what they can end. You understand? So I want to believe that it was on that look that the person tried to the person tried to write. so that Liberians can be cautioned that we should vote wisely on the basis of what somebody can do, not on the basis of what the person is able to give you at a certain point in time.
Thank you, Kelly. Not so bad time is fast spent. So we are still preaching a message of peace here on Focal Online TV. Remember, we are media practitioners and we use this medium to talk about the peace, especially as we gear towards one of the crucial moments we face in our country history. Please believe and understand that Liberia is what we have, Liberia is what we got. So in order to prioritize peace in our country, we must do away with violence. Violence is not something that is good. It leads to damages, and you can be a witness. You can be the one who is experiencing this particular act of violence, and you may still be hindered by the act of violence. So do away with violence. Be you. To all of our political leaders out there, continue to preach the message of violence. Say no to violence. Tell people no to violence, and do not encourage any acts of violence. This is how we close down on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media. My name is Greg Finankore Sipar, and I'm blessed to be here today as your presenter. This is how we wrap up on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media with my colleague. His name is Kia Lyndon Tokpa. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with another shocking news of our country, Liberia, and the world at large. Remember, this is Focal Online TV, where we bring innovation to broadcast. Thanks for watching.
Focal TV. Bringing you innovation to broadcasting, news, views, comments, and analysis of issues happening in Liberia and the rest of the world. Focal TV.